The longer you stay in a one-sided relationship, the higher the chances that it will end badly. And throughout today's video, I have a case study from a subscriber that showcases exactly how this plays out. He was in a 3.5-year relationship with a woman who had a body count between 80 to 100 men. She had a plethora of issues, red flags, and immoral behavior that pushed him to the brink of insanity. At the end of the day, you're responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. For those listening, this case study can be extremely beneficial to your growth and personal development, so that when you go out there and have a relationship of your own, you know exactly what to avoid and you don't let things go as far as they did, such as in the case of this subscriber. So this is going to be a long one, and let's dive right into it. But before that, for those of you who are new, welcome to the channel. My name is Christian. This is Relearning Relationships, where I teach men to master relationships righteously. And if you'd like to learn more about what I teach or join my relationship mastery program, the link is in the description. Book a call. So, with that said, let's begin with the case study. Now, I'm going to keep his name private and refer to him as Jimmy and the woman he was with as Jessica. So he says, "Hi Christian, I hope this email finds you well. My name is Jimmy. I'm from Poland and I would like to share my story with you. I hope this will be a warning to others. I'm 42 years old and my story is of a 3.5-year relationship with a woman who turned out to be unfaithful. She ended up monkey punching big time. So now let's go back to the beginning. I met her in July of 2019. Back then I was 39 and she was 33. 3 months prior to meeting her, I ended my 4-year-long relationship and it took about 2 to 3 weeks to heal before I met Jessica. I don't cope well with the loss of my partners due to trauma. When I was 28, my brother had a car accident. He was in a coma for 3 months and the doctors wouldn't give him a chance. My family was a mess and I was the only one fighting for his life. Fortunately, my brother survived, he's doing well, and although the accident affected his health, he's alive and we are close. But every time I go through a breakup, it gives me the same feeling of that my brother is leaving. For this reason, I was happy in June to July when I started dating women. I felt the end of my sadness and I was gaining more interest from women. I dated around 8 different women, 2 of which seemed interesting to me. One was Jessica and another one who was a film actress. Obviously, he ended up gravitating toward Jessica. I met Jessica through Tinder. She was attractive, feminine, delicate, intelligent, ambitious. She was not vulgar in appearance and it seemed to me that I'd found the one. He says I'm 6 foot tall, well built and handsome. Women were always attracted to me. I went on a call with him a couple of weeks back and he is indeed telling the truth. Ladies do indeed love him. He says, on the first date, so now we're really getting into the background, how it all started, right? This Jessica was very, very good at love bombing, as you're all going to see. On the first day we went to a restaurant, we talked for 3 hours non-stop. There was attraction on both sides. We had a lot of topics in common, talking about life experiences, interests, about what we like. I drove her home and kissed her goodnight. The second date was in 3 days. I invited her to my place for dinner, started kissing. It seemed that something more would happen, but she said she had to leave the house and would come in the morning. She arrived at 9 a.m. the next day and we had sex. Suffice it to say, she was very active. As he says here, I know it's too soon. You shouldn't be giving your body to a woman that quickly, neither should she. Sex is sacred. That's for the person you commit to for life. If she's giving it up that quick, what does that tell you about her and you? You need to get over your lust. After that, I asked her out about once a week. Sometimes we did things outside, other times we spent at her or my place, and of course we had sex every time. He said she was very proactive. She tried very hard to get my attention. And later in September of 2019, so that same year they started dating, she went on a holiday with her mother to Italy, from where she called me and sent photos from her trip, but it turns out that she was also sending them to her ex. 1 month later, I went on a trip around the world for 6 weeks, but she wanted to come with me. But in the end, she didn't. It didn't happen. I went alone. And when I was in Hawaii, she sent me erotic photos of herself in lingerie. He said, I had the impression that these were not photos taken moments ago. Yeah, she's obviously been sending them around to multiple men. In December of 2019, after around 6 months of dating, she spent most of her time in my place, even though she lived 5 minutes away. And one day she announced to me that she'd terminated the lease of her apartment and was moving into my place in 3 weeks. I was very surprised and I asked where this idea came from, and she said that we are so good with each other and that it's so wonderful and pointless to rent 2 apartments. Although it was a surprise for me, I felt that something was wrong and it would happen a little too fast. But I had a person close to me who complimented me non-stop, resourceful, and saying that I'm the smartest person that she knows and all the rest. She was easygoing, what I was looking for in a girl. She didn't seem materialistic, and we both had a laid-back lifestyle. Well, in 6 months, if you vet someone's character properly and you have the intention to commit, you should be weeding out her background, looking for red flags, incompatibility, words and actions, do they match? Is it all fantasy or is it genuine? You should be looking for that. But there was obviously a lot of things she hid, and you had a lot going on in your life and you kind of just let it happen. See, it's all about intention. You can be with someone for 6 weeks and know them well because you have the intention to commit, versus you kind of date someone for 6 months. It's a long time, but you're kind of just going along with it because, it's something extra in your life and you're taking things slow because you have other things going on, so it's not a priority, and you don't actually use those 6 months to get to know them properly. You turn a blind eye to issues. That's what a lot of people do wrong. Be intentional from the get-go. So let's see what he learned about her background. I asked about her family. She came from a small village, from a rather poor family. She had 3 sisters, 1 older and 2 much younger, and her parents were still living together. I asked about her childhood, holidays. Everything seemed fine. He said I was wrong. It turned out later that her parents only lived in one house. They lived in separate bedrooms for years. Parents settled for each other. And her father was a depressed alcoholic who never took care of his children. See, when you ask about someone's family, ask again, and keep asking again. Then go and meet the family. Then go and ask around. Ask about their friends. Look at their lifestyle. You can't really hide that for too long. Because if they're lying to you, there is going to be inconsistencies or holes in the stories that they tell you. Do you get along with mum and dad? Do you have any bitterness, resentment, or unforgiveness? Doesn't matter what they tell you with words. Look at the actions. That simply cannot be faked. Sooner or later, it's going to come out. So there's nothing wrong with her having an alcoholic father who didn't take care of his children. The question is, how did you respond to that? Did she forgive him? Did she move on and heal? Did she learn about femininity, and has she prepared herself to be a wife and a mother? Has she let go? Does she harbor bitterness in her heart towards him? These are the things that you want to look for. Nobody gets to choose the parents that they have. The question is, how do you respond to that in life? Do you let that destroy you? Do you make yourself a victim? Or do you learn from the mistakes that your parents made so that you can be an even better parent? It's in your hands. Free will. And now back on Jimmy's background. My parents have been together for over 40 years and have always managed together. I was taught this approach. Having no problems with finances, I said that we will manage and not to worry. I worked for 15 years in a corporation where I earned good money. Then I did a real estate business where I earned even more money. Still, I didn't flaunt money and I didn't spend too much. I tried to reflect her efforts and the level of spending. And back then, because of COVID in 2020, I had a lot of stress of how my business would develop further, and it also affected our relationship. I moved away and locked myself in my own head. I told her I was stressed, but I could handle it. In March 2020, when the lockdown began, the scamdemic, in April, my father had a stroke where he survived, but I fought for his rehabilitation for about 6 months. No one initially wanted to accept him in due to lockdown. That's bad. Old people deserve love and care too. A lot of them get neglected. It's heartbreaking. Jessica seemed supportive and understanding of the situation at the time. Although it's true that during this period I moved away from it, I coped with stress often with wine. Supposedly with dinner, but had more than 1 to 2 glasses a day. Alcohol, not too good. I met her friends quickly. She met mine, but after the first dinner together, she said that my friends do not suit me and she does not want me to meet them anymore, without any justification. Yeah, that's coming across as a little bit narcissistic. Why? What do narcissists do? Jezebels, right? These wicked people. They isolate you from your loved ones. Now, if she's a righteous woman and she genuinely gives you insight into red flags your friends have or why your friends are bad for you and godless, that's a different story. But if she's not giving you any justification and just doesn't like your friends, she wants to pull you away from them. This woman wants to isolate you from good people in your life to cloud your judgment. Because if you have righteous friends, honorable people, they're going to look at her and tell you something's off about her. And they'll do that to protect you. And if she knows she's a walking red flag or she doesn't have pure intentions, the last thing she wants is for the good people in your life to figure out what she's up to and then get you to realize it too. Because obviously you're under her beauty spell here. I can see that. So you say here that, well, you did defend yourself. I said that these are my friends, that I like them, and if she doesn't want to meet them, I'll probably decide with time that I won't meet her friends. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you at that point. If those are your friends and you like them and she doesn't want to get to know them, that's up to her. I remember that was the first crack in our relationship, after about 9 months of knowing each other. It's interesting that my friends, after some time, told me that when they met her, they didn't have a good opinion of her. I didn't pay attention to it because they couldn't explain it to me. They just said there's something wrong with her. There's a gut instinct right there. Continuing on with the background. A large part of my income was passive rent. Due to COVID, 1/3 of my income disappeared. I had loans to pay off. I did renovation of one of my apartments. So I terminated a lease and we moved together to my own place. Suffice to say that Jessica complained that we only lived in a small apartment, even though we lived in the best district with a beautiful view of the park. And then we moved to a bigger apartment, like more or less double the size of the previous one. She still complained. All the apartments were of a very good standard, much better than she had ever had before, and that she should appreciate more rather than complain. This doesn't sound like a woman that's grateful, that has any joy in her life. Because quite frankly, it's not the place, it's the person. When a woman loves you, your presence is all that matters to her. whether it's a big apartment, a small apartment, especially if you're both starting out together, living together. She just wants you. She craves your love and affection. And if she loves you, she would know that you're doing everything to build a life with her. She would be appreciative of the fact that you moved her in with you, you took care of her, then you upgraded to a bigger apartment and she's still complaining. An ungrateful woman like that, you want to watch out. That's not very loving, is it? Fast forward another 6 months, Jessica started to have problems at work. It seemed to me that she was on her way out. She complained about her bosses, that she wasn't able to pay anything for the apartment, and she would only buy food. She was on notice for 4 weeks, and now she informed me that she goes to therapy and has depression. She was indeed pale as a wall, emotionless, on autopilot. We stopped sleeping together. We did things together all the time, went on vacations, invited friends over. It lasted about a year, and sex was very rare. Jessica took medication for severe depression. Elysia, that's the name of the medication. She went to therapy, and since I knew her, she has not been able to sleep one night without sleeping pills. Well, as the Bible says, there ain't no rest for the wicked. This woman clearly has a lot on her conscience, a lot of things that she's unforgiving for, or evil things that she has done that's holding her back. I've known a lot of people like that who haven't been able to sleep without sleeping pills, have serious issues like that, and it always comes from a godless lifestyle. And as you guys see, as I go through the rest of this email, all of these things that I'm mentioning are going to start to add up, and you'll see the bigger picture. Because it's little red flags, but they all stack. Now she's depressed, goes to therapy, there's no more intimacy, needs to take sleeping pills just to function. In the meantime, Jimmy says that he did a course at a prestigious university for about 1 year. He bought a large luxury property in the center for 4 Airbnb apartments. Due to COVID, Airbnb wasn't profitable, so I sold them all until we would move together in March 2021. Back in February 2021, the month before, Jessica had her birthday, and for 4 weeks when I was working on our new house, she went to her parents but came back for a few days to Warsaw when I rented a hotel and organized her birthday. Okay. Jessica used to go to salsa. She asked me many times if I wasn't jealous of her salsa partner, but I said that if it's just a dance partner, I'm not. Look, for the men and women listening, if you want to dance and you're in a relationship, you dance with your boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, husband, or wife. Don't cross that line. When you look at the dance industry, they have one of the highest rates of infidelity because men and women, they get so close to each other, it just happens that way. Do not think you're above temptation because you are not. Have strict standards. If you are in a committed relationship, or you have a woman that claims to want to marry you, men, she shouldn't be out there dancing with other men. That's reality. So she asked me if I wasn't jealous of her salsa partner, but I said that if it's just a dance partner, I'm not. Then the topic died down because she stopped going to the dance. Wonder why. I remember in June 2021, Jessica told me that she was going to dinner with a colleague from former work. I was convinced that it was some way to help her find a job. I didn't feel that it was any danger. But she came back home around 8 p.m. She wasn't drunk, but she said that it was fun and lots of memories. I always trusted her, never controlled her. But as it turns out in 2023, when I checked her computer one day, turns out it was her ex-boyfriend with whom she saw every 9 to 12 months. Even though this man was married himself, he sent her sexually suggestive messages. They sent each other kisses on the anniversary of their first time that they had sex. And yes, it was a colleague from her former job, but it was also her ex. This dinner was not about her searching for a new job. It was about sleeping around. Her ex was known to sleep with different girls that work with him. I learned this from him from another ex who was a friend of mine. It's all starting to add up. She's living a double life, so the guilt is catching up to her and affecting her. When Jessica got her new job, she told me that a new male friend sent her photos of him from Bali, where he works remotely, and another male friend from her previous job sent pics of his new BMW. She also told me that often guys are hitting up on her. Each time I reacted, I saw that I don't like it. And what was her response? She said that they are just pics. That's when I started to notice that she was looking for other people's attention and validation. Yeah, she doesn't sound obviously emotionally stable, but this is a sign of a woman that doesn't really respect you. Because loyalty is in your hands. If you are a man who has integrity, you're not going to allow women to get close to you. If a woman tries to flirt with you or hit on you, you reject her and you tell your partner out of respect. So if she's having all these male friends send her these messages, what is a woman going to do when she respects you? She's going to stop responding, block and delete them, and tell you and show you. Period. Instead, she's defending their actions. Oh, it's just pictures. Look, I'm in a relationship. I don't need to maintain close contact with other women. It's not necessary. It's disrespect. As Jesus said, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. I don't want my partner being close to other men, and she doesn't. I have to uphold that too. I'm also not close to other women. Neither should you need to be. For all of you men who are in a relationship, even for the ladies, if you have a man and he's getting close with other women, watch out for that, because that's not acceptable. And you want to put your foot down on that. You give them one chance. Don't do this anymore. If they continue on, walk. Because this girl here, this Jessica, she's not young. She's not an 18-year-old girl. She's not a teenager. This is her first relationship and doesn't know what she's doing. She's 33 years old. She's, her brain is fully formed. She knows exactly what she's doing. As you mentioned, she's a beautiful woman. She gets attention from men, but it's how she responds to that attention. A woman that loves you wants your presence alone. She wants your love, your attention. Damaged women want everyone's attention. Same thing with men. Normal men that are happy, you want the love and presence of your woman. Damaged men, lustful men, insecure men, they want the attention of all women because they need to fill that void. So you had a normal response. Of course, you said that you don't like it. You know what those guys want. In the summer of 2021, she told me she was discussing her father's problem in therapy, that she resents him for not being in her life. Ding ding, we have daddy issues confirmed and stamped. Resentment, bitterness, hatred, and unforgiveness are the hallmarks of a broken relationship between a father and a daughter. See, a father is supposed to be a daughter's first love, but if it isn't, it's going to be the first heartbreak. And if she does not lick her wounds and heal, she's going to bleed on every other man that comes into her life. Then, at her home, the mum leads. She's a fighter, but the father doesn't count. At the time, I had no idea about the scale of the problem, which turned out to be huge. I told her that it was good that she was going to therapy, and if she wanted to talk about it, I was there. In September of 2021, before my new job, I planned a 2-week vacation to Mallorca, which I paid myself for the both of us. But Jessica told me that she booked a trip to France by herself. If you're in a relationship, why did any of you need to travel alone? Unless it's for business or family or something, an emergency. If you're traveling for like leisure and fun, you go together. We already know what this spells out. I wasn't able to go that long, so I didn't understand why she wants to go alone when we're going to Mallorca. She said that she wasn't able to take a vacation for a long time, so now it's her only chance. She was supposed to fly straight from France to Mallorca, but it didn't happen. In the meantime, she sent me photos from the trip. It turned out that her ex also had the same pictures posted. But instead, she sent me pictures of old people in a camper van and that she wanted to spend her retirement with me. Yeah, sure she does. After arriving in Mallorca, we went to the hotel and she was immediately dissatisfied with the small room. As I wrote earlier, I tried to match her standard of living, and the hotel, although it was renovated close to the beach, had only 3 stars. I guess it wasn't good enough for her, right? She's been around so many men, she's been spoiled. We changed the room for a better one without any problem, but I immediately told her that I don't like her behavior because she shouldn't react like that, especially since she didn't pay for the hotel exactly. But again, if she loved you, she'd be grateful to go anywhere with you. Just the fact that you're making an effort and you're taking her out is enough to satisfy a normal woman with a healthy self-esteem. This girl is not looking good. The rest of the holiday went well. Jessica rented a car, we visited the whole island, went to romantic beaches. We said it would be great to live there together someday. After how she's treating you, how's that going to turn out? In December of 2021, we moved to another apartment, which we chose together. He says, guess what? I was paying again, because she was earning only a pittance in her new job in the first role, but with the prospect of a raise in a few months. See, I would recommend you only move in with a woman if you know you're going to get engaged and marry her in the next 6 months to a year. If you haven't vetted her character and you're not sure where you stand or where it's heading, don't move in for the sake of moving in. In January 2022, I invited my friends to dinner, but Jessica promised to help me in completing a transaction that evening. The evening went by and she gave no signs that she would finally make the phone call we agreed on. The matter was urgent and important, and I felt like it was simply ungrateful and that this was not what we agreed on. My tone changed to a serious one. I lost my ground and I got up. She took the dog and left the house. Man, she took the dog too. I thought it was just for a walk, but she went to a friend's house for that night. I apologized to my friends the next day. I called Jessica, I apologized to her, but she said she's staying with her friends and with the dog. She came to take most of her necessities the next day and said that the dog was staying with her, even though the dog was mine, and that she was leaving soon. Indeed, I was afraid that I would not only lose my girlfriend, but the dog too. I was calm, but she didn't want to talk to me. She treated me like nothing. I didn't trust her, so I asked her to give me the keys to the house. As you can see, all those issues she has are starting to crystallize into dysfunctional behavior. Because look, at the end of the day, no one is perfect. You have to learn to be responsible for your own triggers in a relationship, what upsets you, by healthy communication. But you can do that with a loving tone, without hurting each other, by trying to understand each other and sitting down until you come to a mutual understanding, so that the next time around, things can work out better. This woman isn't doing that. You're willing to communicate and she's running off. After everything you've done for her, After a few days, we agreed that she would come home and I would go to my parents' house for a few days. She said she wanted to calm down. Why? It's your apartment, you paid for it. She can go somewhere else. So after a few days, I wanted to talk to her and she said she couldn't open up yet. Yeah, it's bitterness. The Bible talks about this. What does bitterness mean in Old English? Clutter. What does clutter mean? Emotional clutter. It's emotional, getting stuck up on the past, holding on to what you claim someone has done badly to you, hurt you, wronged you. But in the end, it doesn't matter because God's going to judge in the end. If you've been hurt by someone, for those watching, that's godless, forgive them and move on. God will deal with them. If someone wrongs you and they're Christian, they're right with God, also forgive them and talk it through. But you don't want to be bitter. You don't want to hold on to the past. Everybody's been hurt. You, me, everybody on this earth has had something bad happen to them. That's life. But what this woman is doing here, this Jessica, is she's being selfish. That's what happens with people who are bitter. They think that they're entitled to have things their own way. But a relationship is two-way. She should sit down and want to talk to you. There's nothing wrong with her being upset, needing 20 minutes, an hour to herself. But she needs a few days and then she still can't talk to you and open up. And she's a fully grown adult. That's not normal because she's unforgiving. The same way she's unforgiving to her father and resents him is the same way she's treating Jimmy now. She has experience of being resentful. But this isn't godly behavior. You want to let bitterness leave you. When you think, this is why it tells us in scripture, think about the things that are in heaven. Think about God. The promises that he has for us. Eternal life. When you think of that, all the little things that happen in our life here don't mean anything. You can forgive and let go. But this woman, she's bitter. She's not. She's getting caught up in the moment, caught up with her emotions. All it takes is open communication. You can sort this out. She's not willing. Now the relationship is becoming one-sided. And even with a one-sided relationship, it still takes two people to make it work. Jimmy, who's doing all the giving, and Jessica, who's doing all the taking. And it's the giver who's being delusional in thinking that the more they give, eventually the taker is going to change. Don't confuse selflessness with being taken advantage of. You can give in love, but you should also receive in love too, because it goes both ways. So anyways, she couldn't open up, and at the time she received information that her grandfather had died and left her the family home. So she left for her family home. Even though things weren't the best between us, I told her to let me know if she needed anything. She came back in a few days that she'd planned a trip with her friend, the one she had recently slept with, he says, to Paris for a few days. Yeah, it's very weird that she's coping with sleeping with other men, but her body count explains the rest. In February 2022, Jessica had her birthday again. She planned that she and 4 friends would go to the piano bar on Friday. And I had a surprise planned for her on Saturday. She came back drunk from the party, and in her purse I found a few business cards from guys. I presume from this event. She came back in the morning, which I thought was an exaggeration. She said she was going out, but not to parties until the morning. The next day she said if I wanted to do something with her for her birthday. So we went to this concert, and she thanked me for taking her to a wonderful concert with her favorite artist. Again, this is when you should put your foot down. You're in a relationship. This woman is committed to you. Why is she going out drinking, getting drunk with her girlfriends? A woman that respects you is not going to put herself in an environment around lustful, horny men. Wouldn't she rather spend that time with you? Or maybe you and her girlfriends to go for a normal dinner and then she comes home to you? Her priorities are not focused on you. From then on, things moved quickly. April the 2nd, 2022. She told me she was going to dinner with people from a foundation with whom she worked with Aid for Ukraine. But that she got along so well with them that they would meet every Friday. I didn't think it was weird, but she came back in the night completely drunk, and in the morning I woke up to her touching herself loudly in the bed where we slept together. When I asked her what the F she was doing, she said she was drunk and confident that she was doing well. I threw her out of the bed and she slept on a couch in the living room. The next day, I planned a trip together, but I didn't feel like spending time together. Why would you plan a trip together after what she did? Especially if you don't feel like spending time with her. She believed that nothing happened, that she'd just been partying lately. The next Sunday, I was preparing for a court hearing and I sat at the computer for several hours. Jessica came submissively and asked what I was doing and that if I was busy, that she would go to the cinema alone. It was a normal thing, I thought. After about an hour, I went to make myself some tea and something struck me. I saw the keys to my car. Jessica didn't have a car, and we lived nowhere near a cinema. So it was strange that she didn't take the car. Then I checked her computer. It turned out that last night, she wasn't with the people from the foundation, but she spent the night in a bar with her ex. Yes, the one who is married. It turned out they had been making an appointment for 2 weeks, and I saw the messages how Jessica came up with the proposal of this meeting and how they wrote to each other what excuse they would use so they could look less suspicious. Yeah, cheating's never an accident, it's always a choice. There's the proof. What's more, in these messages I also found my ex's confession, how great it was for her on one of her trips, the best moments ever, and what great photos she took when they were together, and that she wants them to go on a trip together. It boiled me inside, but I kept digging. Well, Jimmy, I'm terribly sorry to hear that. This is terrible. What's more, I remembered some events back in 2020. Because now it's all going to come back. You're going to piece it all together. When they worked together, my ex said that on Monday morning, she had an event about an hour and a half from Warsaw that she would go on Sunday. But it's not a coincidence. Her ex was inviting her to come over the night before for obvious reasons. She didn't go then, but still. She even was inviting him to her home in the end of 2019, when she supposedly was so much in love with me that she wants to move in. And they spoke to each other, calling themselves honey and babe. Isn't that cute? It turns out that in other messages to a friend, she wrote that she was buying furniture for a new apartment, which she rented in the meantime and needed help in storing them until then. But that my ex was planning to move out of my place, and it seemed everybody already knew about it except me. In her email, I found reservations for the movie the same night. So back to the current time. But it was not one but 2 tickets. I was sure she was on it with the ex. I wrote a post on her Facebook that she's great that she spends time with her ex. The current one doesn't know anything about it. My ex came home in about 50 minutes. She already knew that I knew. She did not answer the question of who she was with at the cinema, and I told her to get her stuff and get out of the house, even though it was 11 p.m. on Sunday. She said she lives here and will not move anywhere. I didn't let go, good. I said that she leaves now. She might take things some other time. She called a friend and told him to help her at this moment. I heard a conversation that it was supposed to be her decision. Yeah, of course she's going to say that, because she's the victim, right? I asked my ex, because now he's broken up with her, if there was anything else she wanted to tell me. She said that a few weeks ago she created a profile Tinder that she wants to have sex, find herself or friends with benefits. Then it completely blew me away. I remember that 2 weeks before, she didn't want to go with me to my parents' house because she wanted to stay. And that's when she went on a Tinder date with a guy. It was a dramatic night. 3 people came, took all of her things. They even drank some of my alcohol and they moved out. I told her to go away. I asked her, "Who are you?" I don't even recognize her actions or her image in my head. In front of her friend, she claimed that she had not cheated on me. She had just met her ex like he went out for coffee. And at the end, she couldn't even look me in the eyes. She was staring at the ground. She knows what she did. She's just gonna lie to your face to make herself feel better. I didn't sleep all night, still trying to piece together things that happened. The next day, I set up a profile on Tinder and found her on it. She had a picture of herself from a distance on the beach, showing her silhouette, but so far away that you couldn't tell who it was. She said on her bio, "I'm feminine, intelligent, looking for a witty, intelligent gentleman with a slim figure for joint casual sex and naked caresses, possibly for dinner together with wine, and talk about how your day was and what's on in the cinema." I thought I was going to die. Who was this supposedly oversensitive person who said she only wants love? I've looked through thousands of profiles on Tinder, and there are friends with benefits ads, but I've never seen anything like a user manual to sleep around or take me. I am a guy myself, and I know what I would think and what I would do if I saw someone like this. And I stupidly wanted to have a family and live together with her for the rest of my life. Painful. I was boiling, but we were no longer together, and I didn't confront her with what I found. I wrote to her ex's wife that I was cheating, that he was cheating on her, and in a minute I was already blocked. It turns out that the ex Jessica was with controlled the profile picture of the wife, the Facebook profile of the wife. Wow, I found out from a mutual friend who this guy is, that he has a nice wife, but he cheats with women he meets because of his job, going to events all over Poland. I decided not to stop him further. At the end of the day, it was my ex who reached out to him. Well, look, they're both cheaters, so they deserve each other. But you're suffering, and that man's poor wife is suffering too, which is terrible. He doesn't deserve that. Memories of my brother dying came flooding back. I was in the shitter again. I started going to therapy intensely from day one. I was on antidepressants, I couldn't sleep. I wanted to find out what happened here, what my role was, who I thought she was. In 2 days, I had a team of 5 people who helped me get over it. I worked every day. The stress interfered with my life, and I was worried that my business was not going to go as planned. I introduced relaxation techniques and prayers, but the betrayal, it's on her, exactly. So it was around 2 weeks, mid of April 2022, no contact. She texted me on Easter to tell me not to be angry anymore. I decided that much of the breakup of our relationship was my fault. What she did was betrayal, but she was already preparing for a new life. But I was completely out of touch with what she had done to me. I wrote a long text to her that I see my mistakes and that she's the most important person on earth for me, that I want to make passionate love with her and spend romantic moments with her. I also told her that I wouldn't talk to her again and let her do what she wants. After that, she texted me every few days, but nothing except I find it hard to trust her again and that she's afraid she'll get burned again. A bit like blame shifting, but it wasn't me who betrayed her. Exactly, this is on her. After another 2 weeks, I confronted her with a Tinder profile. She was crying and saying that she hadn't kissed anyone. I said she didn't even apologize for what she did, even though she claims that she did. And I said, this is not how healthy people behave. We finished the conversation, and the next day I sent her a short text with a specific day to pick up her things. Then she called me in tears saying that she wanted to meet. We met 4 weeks after the breakup. She came to my place for dinner. We spent 6 hours talking, and at the end we kissed passionately. Why? She's cheating on me. Should have walked away. She texted me half the night wanting me to send her our photos. The next day she wrote that a lot had happened. It's weird. She called and suggested that we go away for the weekend. I agreed. Big mistake. Now this is on you. We left. We met. She started kissing me. The weekend ended without leaving the bed. We made love 20 to 30 times. After the first 2 times an orgasm, she told me she loves me and that she wants us to write love letters. She wrote me a letter where she called herself my last name and said that if I asked her, she would agree to be my wife. This is delusional. We started dating again. Big mistake. She's going to pull you back in and do the same thing. I told her that I'd give her a second chance, but for me, the most important thing is trust, and now it's gone, and that she has to rebuild it. Yeah, she gaslit you into giving her another chance. This woman deserves nothing but you turning away from her, blocking her and forgiving her and moving on, and that's it. So we decided we would go to Mallorca later that year, and if possible, she will pay for the trip. We were also together at her sister's wedding at the family home, where her mother welcomed me with joy. In the meantime, I was going to therapy, and I didn't want it to be like before. We both tried. We had dates, we sent little love notes, cute text messages. We made dinners. One of the points was how we want our relationship to be. Each of us described our expectations in several points. For example, I established a rule saying no solo trips, no friends outside of work of the opposite sex. I remember today at this point of around August 2022, she shook herself up and said that she didn't want such rules in her relationship and she didn't need it. She overturned the table. Yeah, because it's one-sided. She cheated on you. She didn't love or respect you. She was using you because you're a sweet guy and she knew that you'd give her another chance. And she can go out there and do all of her shenanigans. A month later, in September 2022, she had a vacation. I bought a house to renovate, in which I wanted us to live together. Since we agreed on no solo trips, she overturned it and went alone for a few days to her parents, and then from then to the mountains alone. For me, that was enough. That's not what we agreed. I withdrew, cancelled all planned trips, stopped inviting her on dates. For her, this trip was not a big deal, but for me, it was breaking the rules and disrespecting me in our relationship. I didn't trust her. Every day I wondered if she was cheating on me with someone. Silent phone. Notifications in such a mode that it was impossible to read from the lock screen. I told her about it, to work for my trust every day. Fast forward to October and mid-November, slow distancing for the both of us. I just wanted to see that she was trying too. And at the end of October, she got a new job. Well paid. But in mid-November, she bought a 10-year-old car. She was happy to be independent. And a week later, she moved out of my house. She said that when we were together, she doesn't read a lot of books, that everything is not right, and left a letter in which she wrote some important points for her. I thought it was something to work with, but she basically wanted more quality time and sex. The next day, I came to her place for a mild one, and she turned into an attacker. She said sex is bad and I will look for someone else. In December 2022, when she was at my place and we were spending time together, her phone rang around 10 p.m. She didn't pick up and I confronted her. She said it was someone that turned up to help her buy a car. But when I asked why call at 10 p.m, she didn't answer. I think it was my replacement. Yeah, it probably is. So we met before Christmas in 2022. We dressed the Christmas tree up. And the next day she texted me how much she enjoyed it. In the meantime, I felt ill with the flu. Christmas Day, we exchanged wishes via SMS, like Merry Christmas. Around 11 p.m, she wrote to me that she wants 2 children and a second dog with me, because I'm already 42 and she's 36. I wrote back that I would love to, but children are not a matter of age, but of love. She wasn't happy with the answer. 2 days later, she called me crying. She said she was somewhere in the parking lot, the marketplace, that she's weeping, accusing me of being like her unloving father, that I don't understand anything. that in Christmas her father went to a different room and got drunk, that when she was 20 years old she was looking for him, and some of the comments that were hard for me to understand. She was basically going on a rant. She was looking for an exit. She agreed to talk to me in 2 days. She apologized. It's like she was in a trance. She told me that she does not trust men, and if she's not desired, she feels like a little girl, and that she knows that she feels like a little girl. She knows that she can count on herself more than me. That she wants things to be like how it used to be on our trip, having sex 10 times a day. But that I also deserve someone who will be super happy to see me, that she wants to feel like someone's little girl. Okay, so she has a lot of issues. Sometimes her sentences were disconnected from each other. It was difficult for me to understand. I asked what she wanted. She said she needed a plan and decided she wanted to take things. I said, I understand, but I think it's a bad decision. I turned on the lights, let her get her things, and she left. Then she suddenly wants to cuddle, started crying, and asked why we never got married after 3.5 years. I was calm and cold and didn't interact. Well, good job you didn't marry her, because that would have been worse. In the elevator, she said that I could have said I would do all the things she wanted, but it was just for her ego. So, back in January this year, she texted me saying, I hate that you couldn't love me. I told her that if she has nothing to say, never contact me again. 3 weeks later, on the 10th of February this year, 2023, after returning from the gym, I saw that she'd called me. I called her back. She said that it was a mistake. Then she said, I'm setting up my life. This gave me confidence that she was moving on and I could walk away. The next day, I ended up in the hospital. I told myself that my ex did not respect my boundaries, even though I asked her several times. So I called her to give her a burn the bridge message. She didn't pick up, so I sent her a text. So he sent like a huge hate message to her, right? He said, you have BPD, daddy issues, depression. So he basically went on a huge rant. And Jimmy told Jessica that she has BPD, daddy issues, depression, anxiety, that she cheats and lies, that she has no integrity, her character or boundaries and her words mean nothing, that she idealizes me and then devalues me, that I'm not like her father, that she did nothing to rebuild my trust, and that for me, loyalty and trust are the basics, that life is difficult and I will not sleep with one eye open. Exactly. She doesn't respect me because she doesn't respect her father, herself, and even her body, that she's sexually promiscuous and aggressive, but that won't stop anyone for long. She goes after relationship with her body count between 80 to 100 men. She can't maintain a long-term relationship, that when there is a problem, she communicates only by screaming, crying, and accusations. She takes no responsibility for anything. She was using me financially and emotionally to cover the void inside of her. That she changed her job for a better one, bought a car, and now suddenly she can do better. Her mother knows all of this. She knows her child. That's why she never came to visit me after several invitations. That I'm looking for a wife and the mother of my children, someone to spend 50 years with, not a mistress. I left a few more comments, but nothing that is not cultural I would not repeat. This is my, F off for someone I loved and had a strong emotional attachment, who didn't respect my boundaries and turned out not to be the person who I thought they were. Turned out to have no feelings for me. Because everything was always about her, nothing about me. I think for her, love and lust are the same. Yeah, because she's messed up. She wrote back that that's a disgusting message and that she wishes that one day someone will love me so much that I'm not afraid of cheating. What the fuck? I agree. I blocked her on everything. It feels better one day, worse the other, and I still think about how it happened that I let someone like this get to me. I'm working on myself, my business, I'm in shape again. I've lost 10 kilos and I'm physically feeling myself. Honestly, I always felt something was wrong with my ex. I couldn't name it, but I always felt it inside. I feel used, emotionally drained, and I hope our paths never cross. I know it will be fine in the end. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your work and what you do. Please let me know what you think about this whole story. Could have been avoided with vetting her character more so in the beginning. Digging deep into those red flags, asking more about her background, her sexual partners, what she wants and why. Is she really traditional or is she playing a character? Because you gave her a second chance and it hurt you even more. Again, it doesn't have to be that way. But anyways, I've spoken with him privately, so he knows the rest. And for those of you watching, let this be a lesson to you. It doesn't have to end this way. If you find yourself in a relationship that is one way, the person you are with is making no effort, cut ties. Because the cornerstone of dating and courtship is that you choose someone who chooses you. And they should prioritize you every day. If not, they don't really want to commit to you. They're using you. Be careful and guard your heart always. So that's been today's video. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you have any other crazy experiences such as these, feel free to send them to me via email, link in the description, I'll get back to you. So with that said, hope you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families.